Now, this session is all about creating an amazing life around your business. How do you do that? How do you be the investor, be able to raise funding, be able to raise, find good deals, be able to invest, make a profit, and still, automate, delegate all of that, and still be able to come out with, an amazing life around that? How do you do that? There are a few different aspects of life which you really need to be aware of, which, you'll feel as if you are not successful if you don't get them right, okay? And I'm sharing my personal experience here. If, let's say, you make a lot of money and you're financially now good, but you're emotionally struggling, or you're socially struggling, or you're struggling with your health, or you're spiritually struggling in terms of being able to connect with yourself, you don't feel real, or you intellectually don't feel successful, what will happen is that all these are the aspects of life. It's almost like if you list them, you go from the spiritual health to the emotional health, to the social health, to the financial health, to your physical health, to your intellectual health, and so on and so forth. So spiritual, emotional, social, intellectual, health-wise, physical health, and then your financial health. You gotta get all these right, because if you miss out on even one, you're not gonna feel successful. You're just not going to feel successful, okay? Like, I know people worth billions. I know them personally because we used to provide services to some of these listed chairmen of companies, and they're multi-billionaires. I literally know them personally to a point where I can pick up the phone and call them, okay? Many of them struggled because they get the financial bit right, but they get many of these other health aspects wrong. They either get their health aspect wrong, or they get their spiritual aspect wrong, and they really, really struggle thinking, oh, even though we have so much money, they don't feel successful. So you will not feel successful unless you get all of them right. And if you're not making notes, if I was you, I'd make notes, okay? You gotta get your spiritual aspect right, your spiritual health. You gotta get your emotional health right. That means, okay, let me share some stats with you. Of every 10 people in the world, 6 people suffer with some sort of mental health issues. That is 60% of world's population. Raise your hand if you're shocked by those numbers. You can actually find all of this online. Raise your hand if you find this shocking numbers. You don't find them shocking? Good. Okay. So 60% of the people in the world suffer with some sort of emotional difficulty. Okay. A major percentage of them actually take medicines. Okay. So you gotta get your emotional health right. You gotta get your social health right. That means being surrounded by the right people, people who pull you up and not drag you down. Getting your intellectual health right. That means you're reading, you're growing, very, very important. You're getting your financial health right, and then getting your physical health right, okay? How many people do you know who make a lot of money but suffer with physical problems, okay? Now go back to their life. Do you think they feel successful when they're physically struggling and they are making a lot of money? They don't feel successful. You gotta get all of these right, but how do you do that? How do you get all of these aspects right in your life? The only way is going back to the previous session, which I was talking about, being the investor and not the operational manager and the slave of the system. You will be able to take out time to look after your health, look after your nutrition, look after your emotional health. That means speaking with people who will give you that knowledge and the wisdom, and then be able to emotionally balance your life and surround yourself with the right people. Because if you're not getting your business right and your money aspect right, what tends to happen is you invest too much time trying to make money and very little time trying to get all of these other aspects right. So if you invest too much time making money, you have no time to look after your health, your spiritual health, your intellectual health, your social, emotional health, all of these, you just don't get the time. When you look at me, and I'm just giving you an example on myself, I make sure I do my workout every day, irrespective of how much work I have and how much I am busy. I'll still do my workout. I'll still go and read a book, either while I'm doing my workout, or I'm driving, or I'm doing something that doesn't require my attention. I'd listen to a book. That's my intellectual growth, my personal, professional growth. That's my physical growth because I'm doing my workout. And then I spend time with my family to make sure that I have some sort of balance. You don't necessarily get a complete balance, okay? But some sort of balance where I'm, spending time with my family. But the only reason I'm able to do that is because the way the business is structured, it doesn't require too much of me, okay? That's all there is to it. But you gotta get all your aspects right. The spiritual aspect, which in essence means that you gotta make sure that you feel connected with yourself. Don't lose yourself trying to pursue these material things in life, okay, which are important again. And you can't ignore the money aspect and everything else around it. But you got to make sure that you feel connected with yourself. You don't lose yourself in the middle of all this mess sometimes, okay? Businesses are always chaotic, and there's always mess, and there's always firefighting happening and all sorts of things, okay? And deals don't happen, and they piss you off, and there's not enough money coming in, or there's too much money coming in, you don't know where to invest or whatever. Whatever your situation might be, always remember that you're connected with yourself and that you're happy with your situation and yourself. That's being spiritually connected, okay? And then you are emotionally balanced. That means you're happy with your life, your moment that you're in. You're not necessarily living in past or anxious about the future. You're not delving too much into the past and thinking too much about, your past, but really more present in this moment and being more creative with your business and your personal life. The only way you can be more creative is by being more present in the moment and not, like I said, delving into the past and being too anxious about the future. That's how you create an emotional balance, not having too far expectations, too high expectations with the world, or for that matter, anyone, and sometimes even with yourself. Healthy expectations is good, but when you start to expect too much of you and you put too much pressure on yourself, you lose that emotional balance, and that leads to depression and feeling low and demotivated, all of that. You got to get that right. Getting your social life right, making sure that you're surrounded by the people that really, really help you out, pull you up, and not really even being close to anyone who drags you down, okay? And making sure that you have the people that you can trust and they trust you, and so on and so forth. But the only time you can do it is when you're not investing too much of time into one aspect, which sometimes it is the money, okay? And then going back to your, so we've covered the spiritual, we've covered the emotional, we've covered the social. Now it's the intellectual, like I said, making sure that you're reading and you're taking trainings and you're taking mentoring, making sure that you have the time and you invest time into that. That's your intellectual growth and intellectual health and growth. And then you come down to your money growth. The only way you're going to make more money and being able to scale is when you have this eagle eye view and you're thinking like an investor. That is the only time you're going to scale and make larger chunks of money. And that is it, if I can think about. So you get your spiritual, you get your social emotional, you get your physical health, you get your intellectual, and then you get your financial health right. As long as you get all of these balanced to some extent, it's never easy to get the balance of all of them right. They always go up and down or whatever, but it's very important to get these right. It's almost like you need to get to a point where you're coaching yourself using the GROW model, which you can learn from previous training videos. GROW stands for G for goals, R for reality, O for opportunities, and W for will. You don't just use the GROW model to pitch people and get them to sign up with yourself, but then you use the GROW model on yourself on every single one of these aspects and say, okay, what is my goal in terms of my health? Okay, what is my goal in terms of my, my financial goal? What is my goal in terms of my spiritual aspects? What is the goal that I have in terms of my emotional health? All of these, and then you take that GROW model and then you apply it to your own self first. So you're almost like coaching yourself first into every aspect of your life. Raise your hand if you know by what I've just shared so far, and those who've been with us for some time, who are familiar with the grow model. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. Suraj's been with us for some time, so you understand that you got to use the grow model, not just pitching people and coaching them and mentoring them and helping them, but first you take that and apply it to yourself, and then coach yourself on every aspect of this of our life. Okay. For those who don't know the grow model, please go back to the previous videos. You will find them there. They're all in the training videos that we've done previously. Okay. Grow literally stands for G for goals. You ask yourself questions based on your goals. Then you ask questions based on the reality that is going from A to B. And then O for opportunities. What kind of opportunities do you have? And then W, do you have the will to take the action to bring that health into reality? That means your spiritual health, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's all there is to it. That is all. So the day you learn to coach yourself, to mentor yourself, to be able to, it's almost like you're bringing all of these healths, I call them healths, right, into existence for yourself. You don't at that point need a lot of people to help you out. You can do a lot of it yourself. Okay. Do you have any questions based on what I just shared so far? Fortune, any questions? Not sure if you can hear me.
No
Josh?
question.
Okay, thank you. Josh, any questions?
Thank
you. No question yet.
Okay. Robert, any questions?
Yeah, I'm okay, fine, thank you.
Good. Martin, any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Saida, any questions? I'm going to ask you a hard question after this. Okay.
No, Jack, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. Shelly, Suraj, any questions?
No, Jack, thank you.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Now, if I left you to your own creativity, do you think you can ask yourself questions yourself, questions based on the grow model, to be able to coach yourself on every single one of these aspects? Do you think you can do that? Raise your hand if you can do that. Now, I'm actually going to pick one person and tell me, what did I just share in this session? Martin? You are on the spotlight. Switch on your camera if you can.
Hold on. Let me get. I just don't want to. Let me set this up properly.
Okay. So, are you familiar with the grow model?
I have heard you use the grow model several times now. Yes.
Okay. So, if I said, now let's take the grow model and ask yourself questions based on spiritual health, emotional health, social health, physical health, intellectual health, and then your financial health. And observe that I talk about financial health as the last. Okay. Yeah. Do you think you can ask yourself the right questions? And if so, give us some examples.
I think it'd be a long process. It would be a long process.
Give me some examples.
For example, yeah, with the intellectual health, the goal would be to learn as much as possible.
Okay. And what do you have to do to be able to do that?
The reality of that is the time it's going to take to do that. The opportunity is literally going out, speaking to people, reading, watching the YouTube videos.
And W?
And the will to do it is the motivation, the kick up the backside to actually sit there for a length of time and make sure that no distractions going to pull you away from that.
Fantastic. Well done. Well done. So let me just again give you another example of how I would apply this to one aspect. Let's say financial. Okay, hypothetically. Okay, so let's say financial. Let's say my goal is to reach a 100 million valuation for my business. Okay, so I'm talking about the long-term goal. Okay, I want to reach 100 million valuation for one of my businesses. Okay, that's the large goal. The reality is that at the moment, the valuation is, let's say, 2 million. Okay, that's the reality that I sit on. Now, I ask myself, how do I go from a 2 million valuation to a 100 million valuation? What do I need to do? What do I need to incorporate into my business to get to a point where there's enough income streams coming in into the business to give me a valuation from 2 million to 100 million? And now the will to be able to go and research on those income streams, go and raise the money to be able to create a profit line from those streams, and then increase the profits within the business to give me a valuation of 100. Martin, back to you. Do you think I just applied the right way of the GROW model in front of you in terms of how I can take a business from a 2 million valuation to 100 million valuation? Have I asked myself the right questions?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. You can take the same formula and apply it to every single aspect of your life. You can ask yourself health-wise, okay, so let's say, my doctor has given me warnings in terms of my blood pressure, or I don't know, whatever it is, problems that you might be facing. How do I change that around? What is it that I need to do to change that around? Okay, so I go online and I do some research, an hour of research, and I find out that I need to be on treadmill for half an hour, or I need to do some weight training for about 20 minutes. So that's 50 minutes. How the hell do I take out 50 minutes from my life to make sure that I don't die early? I think twice what I just said. If you don't want to die early, you have absolutely no choice but to focus on your physical health, because you will die early if you don't. Okay, you will. If you're taking this in a harsh way, please do, because that's the whole purpose. Okay, you will die early if you don't look after your physical health, and you have absolutely no choice but to go and spend at least 30 to 45 minutes to an hour, maybe if you can, into your physical health. Okay, so you got to ask yourself the right questions to say, okay, how do I make sure that I at least take out half an hour to 45 minutes and spend time, invest that time on a treadmill or in a gym? Now, same formula on the intellectual growth. Okay, I'm on a treadmill. Can I go and listen to an audiobook and go through some intellectual growth? I'm driving around. Can I listen to an audiobook and go through intellectual growth? Can I book a training program out there that will help me grow further into my business? I do that all day long, all the time. Okay? These are the questions you need to ask yourself into every aspect of your life. Before we end this session, I will repeat this again. It's so important, okay? Like I said, you will look back at this session with a lot of humility. I'm saying this. You look back at this session and say, I can't believe that, like, the kind of stuff I'm learning, okay? And how you can take this and implement to your life. You gotta get your spiritual aspect right, your spiritual health. You gotta get your social, emotional health right. The last thing you want to do is make a lot of money and be emotionally disturbed. The last thing you want to do is be making a lot of money and not spiritually connected and disconnected with yourself. Okay, you got to make sure that you ask yourself the right questions in terms of your intellectual growth, your physical health, your financial health. Okay, all of these are very, very important, and I promise you, even if you get one of them wrong and you get all of the others right, you will not feel successful. I cannot insist enough on this. I have been through this loop. I'm sharing this with experience, where I've suffered emotionally, I've suffered financially, I've suffered my health-wise, and I cannot insist enough that you will not feel successful, okay? If you have any questions, great. If not, this is today's session. Anyone has any questions?